everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this cute love heart quilt. Look at that, that comes together so quickly. If you have done my building blocks, building skills quilt pattern, and if you have done one of my square patterns, either the Christmas tree or the baby blanket one, my first quilt pattern, you already have all the skills. We're teaching you how to do half square triangles. Sorry, that's my 2-year-old come into play. And I'll show you how to do the half square triangles so that you can make this love heart quilt. This took me hardly any time at all. It was cutting that took the longest time, or ironing. So come with me and I'll show you how to make this quilt. So let me show you my fabric I've chosen first of all. So this fabric here is fabric that I got from Aldi a wee while ago. I don't think it's available now. It's a Disney Princess fat quarter pack, and it comes with 5 different pieces here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to need 3 pieces for this quilt for the love heart, and I think it's just 1.5. Yeah, 1.5 in the background. So what I've decided to do, because I made 3 fat quarters for the love heart, and these are quite striking, I'm not sure you would realize it was a love heart if I didn't stick to the same fabric. So I think that's one piece of advice I would say is, if you're making this quilt, you really want the background fabric and the love heart fabric to be quite different. You want the love heart to be all the same sort of colour, so it could be all blues or greens or obviously pinks or reds, and then the background to be different so that you really know there's a love heart, because there's it's super simple and there's not much going on, so you want to make the contrast quite clear. So what I think I'm going to do, since I've got plenty here, is I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a whole heart, because I've got enough packs. Let me open these up. Because I've got enough to do 3 fat quarters, which is what you need for 1 heart, I think what I'm going to do is have this blue, maybe even as the border, and I think I'm going to have this purpley pinky colour, mauvey colour, as the background of the heart. Maybe not all of them. I'm working it out. Let me have a think. So what I think I've decided is I'm going to go for a love heart with jasmine, a love heart with this lovely fabric. I can't remember what that pattern's called, but sort of floral pattern. Love heart with this, and then I'm still debating about the 4th one, and I have these 2 colours still to choose from, which I feel are quite good for background fabric. So I'm still not sure. I'm going to just play about and see how it goes. I'm going to make the cuts for the love hearts first. Okay, so of course the first thing you need to do is iron your fabric, because it's all got all the creases in it, and you want to iron out the creases so that it doesn't bumble. I don't know how well you can see that in the dark fabric, but it's got quite solid creases going on here, and when I cut that and sew that, it's not going to help it stay nice. So I'm going to iron these now, my least favourite thing to do. What you want to do when you're doing this pattern is to cut it in half. The fabric's wider this way and shorter this way, 18 tall by 22 wide approximately, which means that this is a horizontal piece of fabric, and that's really ideally what you want for this love heart pattern. You can still make it work, absolutely, but just for simplicity, that would be the ideal. Or fabrics that don't have a direction would also be good. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half. Actually, I'm going to line them all up and cut the same ones all at the same time. So let's do that. You want to line up the corners, and you want to go along, and hopefully the corners will line up at the other side too. We'll see how that goes. This is a bit... Oh yeah, that was lovely. Right, put that down, smooth it out, and then check the other corners. This is where you see how things are always just a bit off. I'm going to cut it straight down the middle, put it on top of each other, which I realise will then be 6 layers of fabric. I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to recommend to you that you don't do more than 3 layers of fabric. So you cut this in half and then do what I'm going to do with one half and then repeat with the other half. Don't be crazy like I am. Okay, so for those of you who are doing this on a budget, you might not have a ruler at this point, and you might be using not a rotary cutter, and you might be using paper template. So if you're making paper template, what you really want to do is to make 4 9-inch squares. So you would make a 9-inch template, and you would start from there. So if you're doing that, now's your time to go away and make your 9-inch template. If you need help making a square template, I have a video on YouTube. I'll put the link in this video too. You just need a bit of paper to make this start. Watch the video, it's easier. Anyway, you need a bit of paper and probably a bit of cereal box and a ruler and a pencil, and you're good to go. And then you'll mark it out on the fabric. I've also got a video about how to cut just with scissors, so you can watch that too if you're starting on a budget. Those of you who already have tools of the trade, we're just going to cut it in half. So here we go. So it is telling me it's just over 22 inches, but that's because there's not a bit of fabric underneath. So it's pretty much spot on 22 by slightly longer than the 18. Right, so what we're going to do is we are going to find the halfway. A good tip that I learned is to not measure using the lines on your mat in case they're different from the lines on your ruler, because sometimes they're different, but I do use them as a guide to cut from top to bottom. So I use a white line at the top to a white line at the bottom, these thicker ones. So I'm just going to move my fabric so that the 11 inches mark is on that white bit there. So we're going to trim these up anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that ruler from top to bottom, or you'll have marked it with your 9-inch squares. There we go. Oh, didn't start very well, did I? There we go. Now, because I am so teeny and I'm going to cut so many layers, I am going to use my 4 kilogram, I was going to say dumbbell, what are they called? Whatever they're called. Anyway, so this is where you would just use 1/2 and cut these into 9-inch squares, but I am going to be crazy and layer them up. What we're going to do is we're going to trim them all the same size at the end, so don't stress too much here. What you want to do is to cut it in half. So I've lined this up along this top line here and this line here, because these are my 2 straightest cuts. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use both my rulers. If you've got your template, just use your template. And I am going to measure 9 inches because that my width here is 18. So half of that is 9. There we go. Right, now these are all going to be trimmed, so I'm not going to get too stressed about that. What I am going to say is, at this point, you should be using only 3 layers. So at this point, you're cutting through 3 layers. I have layered mine all up because I'm crazy and I'm cutting through 6 layers. So I have this really heavy weight to help me hold my ruler in place. I don't suggest doing this unless you're totally mad like myself. Just take it easy and do it in 2 piles, or even more if you don't feel overly confident. Okay, I'm ready to cut. I've got my crazy heavy weight. I'm going to have to really push to cut through all this fabric, and the key is to not move anything until you're sure you've cut all the way through, which I have. Lovely. Okay, so heavyweight. You now have 2 piles. I'm going to deliberately not put mine together right now. So what we need to do now is we need to make them a little bit squarer. These are currently 9 by 11, which is about right. That's supposed to be, but that's obviously nowhere near a square, and we want to be cutting some half square triangles now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sensible, and I'm going to break this down a bit. So I'm going to put them into pile of 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the time. If you're not confident piling them up, just do them one at a time. You want to take the time, and we're going to cut them smaller again, ready to make our half square triangles. So they're 9 on one side, so we want to make them 9 on the other side. Okay, so you just take your time, make sure they're all nice and lined up. And I have my 9 inches there. And now I want to cut them 9 inches this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's line up with the 9 on my board. Now. Okay. Now these bits that you're about to cut off, I'm going to use the weight just to make sure it doesn't slip. These bits that you're about to cut off, don't chuck them away, because they can be used to make other things. These are lovely strips. Let me tell you how big they are. They are 2 1/4 inches basically, and they can be used to make some lovely scrappy quilts, which I will show you how in another video. So now, when you've got to this stage, you will have 9-inch squares. Let me just show you. I hope this is in the video. I will look. 9-inch squares. Gorgeous. Right. And now what we need to do is we need to get our backing fabric. Do exactly the same, so we end up 9-inch squares, and I'll show you how to do your half square triangles. So I'm off to do the same thing with the backing fabric, making those 9-inch squares, and then I'll show you how we make the half square triangles. So now what we have is we have 9-inch square and a 9-inch square of our backing fabric and our heart fabric. So what we want to do is, this one actually doesn't particularly have a direction. This is all good whatever way this is. This is a top and bottom. So this is where things get a little bit complicated, but we're good. I will show you how it works out. So right sides of fabrics together. So that's fronts of fabric together. Right, what we need to do is we need to get a pencil. Now, of course, this is where I find I don't have a pencil handy. Okay, I've got a chalk pencil. That'll do. I actually just recommend using a normal pencil, but I don't know where my pencils are right now. So I have a chalk pencil. This is really sort of like for dressmaking or whatever, but this is fine. So, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line from one corner to the other. Now, if you don't have a big long ruler like this, an A4 piece of paper, a side of a box, lots of options. Oh, sun's in my eyes. Lots of options. So basically you want to draw a line. I might need to go get a pencil. Down the diagonal from one corner to the other. I hope you can see that there. Now what you're going to do is you're going to, you can pin this. Remember to take the pins out before you sew, but you can pin this to keep this nice and square for you. And but to be honest, I don't normally pin, but you know me, speedy, crack on, get it done. So yeah, so basically if you're going to pin it, you pin it all the way down and you sew 1/4 of an inch to the right and 1/4 of the inch to the left. So because I prefer to sew 1/4 of an inch to the right, that's just how I prefer to do it. I do it this way and I whiz it round and do it back on the other side so that the line's always on the left of the needle. And that's just how I choose to do it. You can do it however you want, as long as you sew 1/4 of an inch to the right of that line and 1/4 of an inch to the left of that line. And then that means that we can cut down that line when you're done. So let's go and do the sewing. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how I'm ironing these. So what I do first of all is I set the stitches. So I iron them folded, and then what I do is I open them out so that I'm opening the dark side away, and then what I do is I very gently open out and press it that way, and then as you can see it presses it to one side, and then that's just a really quick way of getting that done. I'm at a stage where I need to tidy things up. I've got some threads that need cut, but I just wanted to show you where we're at. So I've got 6 of the heart 8.5 inch squares, 2 of the backing fabric 8.5 inch squares, and then I have 2 pairs of the 8.5 inch. Now they're trimmed to 8.5 inch. Of course, they started at 9 inch squares and are now 8.5 inch half square triangles. And you can see how these are the pairs. This one obviously is the other half of that one. And so we've got top and bottom, and then these ones are the other direction, top and bottom. So you want to cut 2 of them. You want to sew 2 of them so that they are bottom left to top right, and you want to sew the other so that they're bottom right to top left. And then that way when you cut them open, you have these opposite pairs here, which is what we need for the love hearts. I'm going to show you how we assemble that now. So what we need to do is we need to take one of these and one of these. Oh, I'm hoping that's on screen. And that makes that love heart point. And one of these and one of these. So as you can see, hopefully, that is the 2 peaks off. Oh, hopefully you can see that that makes the 2 peaks, the 2 points of the top of the love heart. So I would then sew them together, put them away to one side, and then the middle row is literally 4 of these, and these just make one row across the middle. So that's my row 2, and then the final row, no, the second to final row, I need one of these here. I'm going to pop this out the road a bit more. I need one of these, and I need 2 of these, and I need one of these, and hopefully you can see how that's the heart starting to come down the way. Now I always start from right to left when piling, or left to right when piling. It doesn't matter as long as you're consistent. And then the final bit, of course, is the point of the love heart, which leaves these squares to go either side in the corner. So that's the final bit there, is the point and the backing fabric in the corners. Right, so now I'm going to sew that. So I want to pile from left to right because I'm right-handed and this is how I like to do it. So I do this piece with this piece on top and sew on the right hand side, and then when that's sewn together and I open it out, I'll put this piece on top and sew down the right hand side, and then when that's sewn, I'll sew down the right hand side. Now you can see how that will be speedy for me for sewing. So I'm going to do that and I'll show you in a minute. You've cut out all your pieces, you've made sure you've got triangles and everything in the right place, you've then sewn each row, you've then sewn each row face to face, and now you have, try to find the top of this quilt now, a love heart quilt. Look at that. Da, 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 da. Super speedy, and I just love how fast that comes together. So I'm not sure how far back I can get that to show you, but look at that love heart quilt there. Nice bold patterns, simple to come together, and I will give you the instructions and the pattern for all the details. But look at that. That used, can't even remember now, 4 fat quarters. I'll come back to you with the number. Anyway, look at that. Say hi to the nice people.
Hi.
You've got a mouthful of food. Ah, they don't want to see your food. Ah. Right. Okay.